G'day guys, yeah, I really messed up with this painting and I just want to show you why, this little one here. What I've done is that I'll just turn the camera around and give you a look as to how I've managed to mess this whole painting up. So when I point out this mistake, it's going to stand out really clearly. So even though it's a caricature, there's still some certain realism points that you want to be able to hit. Now what I've done is a fundamental mistake, and like I said, I've just standing there for a while trying to work out where I'd messed up. Still want to have these points of realism. So here, you kind of want the eyes to kind of be in line with the top of the ear. Of course, it's all out of proportion because this is a caricature. So coming down to the mistake is the teeth, the mouth on its own looks fantastic. Really great. Love the result. And just about finished that. And now that's going to need a major overhaul. That tooth there is not in line. So that gap, that particular gap right here, should have been in line with the bottom of that tooth there and in line with that part of the nose. So that, as you can see now, has made the whole mouth look out of proportion or out of place. And like I said, even though it's a caricature, you still want to hit those certain points of realism. So what I have to do now to fix that, and this is the beauty of any sort of like oil paints and acrylic paints, they are fixable. It needs major surgery, but what I'm going to have to do now is get that particular tooth there, and I'm going to bring it out to about here. So that tooth will come out to there. This particular tooth will come over to about here, and this particular tooth will come over to here. So I'm going to have to restructure this whole tooth line to be able to make it look like it's in proportion or in place, and that way your brain is not going to be looking at that painting and going, yeah, it's okay, it's a caricature, but there's still something fundamentally wrong with it. And your brain, being a processor and trying to always work out problems, will go, nah, something's not quite right here. So just for a quick recap, what I've done wrong here is I've got that tooth right in the middle of that particular line that would go from the chin to the middle of the bottom line of the teeth to the middle of the nose. So that line should be obviously around about here. So I'm going to have to bring that whole tooth line over and possibly play around with the lips a little bit more. And once I do that, it will really make that painting not so much of a conundrum. Any sort of face, and it really does need to line up because you're looking at faces and humans all day long, and your brain will immediately know, might know what the problem is straight away, but it'll immediately know that there is a problem. The good thing about acrylics is that within about an hour or so, I should be able to fix that because of the fast drying time. Just while I'm doing my colours here, I've got a little bit of Matisse by Derivan. I've got some Matisse Red Light. I've just got a little bit of Carbon Black, which is really good to mix. So that's my interactive with Italia, and Italia again with some yellow ochre. So these are going to be the colours, and of course my raw umber, which I'll go and have a look for. And lastly, my raw umber, which is by Montmartre, probably the cheapest of a lot of those paints. These other ones are really quite expensive, these brands, but this will be fine to be able to mix in. It's all acrylic, and that's what I love. Here's the big boy. So what we're going to do is get those beautiful big teeth there. We're just going to do some surgery. So as you can see, that tooth is right under that nostril, over this way a bit more. So we've got to bring that main tooth there, just to sort of, as I was discussing before, bring that line up through the nose there and down to that tooth. Sure, you still want to hit those points of symmetry. If you have a look at the line, usually the eye goes to the top of the ear, the bottom of the mouth goes to the bottom of the ear, even though that's almost a 2-point perspective angle. He's looking back that way. So we've kind of got that bit of a curve there, straight to the top of the eye, to the top of the ear for the eyes, bottom of the mouth for the bottom of the ear, and in that is where you want to get that triangle. The eyes down to the middle of the mouth, nice little triangle in there. That way you'll get that to look kind of like your subject. So I've got my good old filbert here. I'm going to start off with that one, and I'm just going to grab the tiniest little bit of yellow ochre, fair bit of that antique white, and I'm just going to grab a little bit of that raw umber. So the line isn't that bad, but I reckon if we bring that line down to about here, that's pretty much where it should fall. straight through there. I'm just going to add a little bit more of that there, just make it tiniest little bit darker in there, and that'll give us that line we want right through here, right there. Hey guys, I'm just going to jump in here real quick. I'm using antique white for the main fill of the teeth, and just to explain the angle, I'm just bringing that centered line of the teeth to the middle of that nose on that curvature which I explained earlier. And here I'm just mixing that red light into that raw umber for the roof of the mouth. And this is where the major surgery begins. I'm going to start to cut that line straight across the bottom of that tooth to be able to blend that into the roof of the mouth. And as you know, I like to reverse engineer a lot of my paintings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut high with that roof mouth colour, and then I'm going to bring the white of the teeth back down into that area, which pushes those teeth forward. And even though I keep saying this is only a caricature, it's still good to carry this over into realism pieces if you're doing portraiture. What I do to be able to separate the teeth is paint the gums in, or use that as the measure for your separation. It's looking better already, even though it's still a bit of work to be done. That centre line there is starting to line up with that curvature of the face. All right, now that I've fiddled around with it a little bit, as you can see there, I'm just pretty much got that line pretty much from the centre of the nose down through there and coming down to the centre of that one. So it just kind of looks a little bit better. Probably makes absolutely no difference to you, but it really stood out to me. And as you can see, there's the mouth down there of my big mate Melanie. So I'm just going to now add some white highlights, some straight titanium white. I have predominantly been using the antique white. Just to give it a few more little highlights in through here, bring down some there. And as you can see, so now we've got some major surgery. So we've brought that tooth right over and across, got that line in the middle now, and it's just pretty much just brought a little bit more symmetry to the face. So I hope this helped out a little bit. As you can see, you can always do major alterations on your painting. It is a pain, but at the end of the day, it really is fixable. Well, don't panic, get it wrong, or you get an eye in the wrong place, especially when you're doing realism as opposed to a caricature. But this is why I love caricatures, because you can be a little bit skew-if, and they still look pretty good. And obviously you're over-exaggerating everything, but you do want them to be able to, as I said earlier, hit those points of realism just to make it look like the character that you're trying to portray. Yeah. Just start. Don't feel that you've got to make it right the first time, because everything is fixable. Anyway, as I always like to say, happy painting, and I'll see you in the next one.